Hey everybody, welcome back. Today is Skews Day, July 20th, 2021. I'm Trey Crowder and that's Mark Agee. What's up, Mark?
Hey, what's up, Trey? I saw the video you made about the Texas KKK. The KKK is good now law. I don't really understand the gist of it. Can you sum it up for me?
It seems to me like so basically the Texas state legislature passed a bill that would cut out a whole bunch of things that are required curriculum in public school history classes. And it was a bunch of stuff and it was including things like Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, anything about Susan B. Anthony, Cesar Chavez, Native American history, big chunks of that, and also it cut out a requirement that students have to learn about the history of white supremacy, including but not limited to slavery, eugenics, the Ku Klux Klan, and that these things are, quote, morally wrong. So, like, it wasn't making it illegal to say that the Klan is bad. It was
Hmm.
removing a requirement to say that the Klan is bad or to teach it in that way, which is, in my opinion, still kind of shitty, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you and I talk a lot about this stuff. I think it's because we're annoyed by how many lies we were taught in school.
Right.
Um, but I saw like a take the other day that was like, it was basically like, have these people ever been to school? Because kids, like, you spend like 45 minutes a day on history, and most of that's not listening. It's like all this
Right.
stuff's so fraught, and kids are going to do most of their learning after they get out of school anyway. So it's like, and
Yeah.
plus you can't control teachers. Teachers are saying either great shit or insane shit in classrooms all the time anyway. Like nobody, it's, whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely related to the stuff we talked about with critical race theory. You know what I mean? It's like a response to that made up problem that they have. You know, it's
Yeah,
like you can't be having white kids thinking that this country is inherently racist or whatever. So you just have to not tell them about any of the racist shit that happened in this country's history because that
yeah.
might upset them. You know. Um, And it's like you hear that, it's like, well, what else is upsetting? Learning about the Holocaust. You want to not teach about the, you know what? Don't answer that,
I mean, it's
because a
like
lot of them would probably prefer not to cover that too. So what are you gonna do?
it's wild because like the way that like stuff like Martin Luther King Jr. is taught in school anyway is like the people come out of that thinking, oh, he would be a Republican now. Like anyway, so like it's not like they're accurately teaching. They don't teach about the Poor People's Campaign or that he was a socialist or that any of that shit. So like it's just like they turn him into like a cuddly grandfather figure again, nice guy who wanted everyone to be nice, and that's like it's
Yeah,
yeah.
it's also another example of that whole party of Lincoln thing. Because I saw going around Twitter today when this was all trending, I saw some conservatives sharing this meme or whatever. It's like just a reminder: the Klan was founded by Democrats, right? And so it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's true. Everything changed completely in the interim, but it's also funny that it's like we're talking about Republicans making it so you don't have to teach that the Klan was bad. And in
Hmm.
defense of that, they're like, listen, the Klan was a Democrat thing anyway. It's like inherently acknowledging that it was bad and blaming it on us in response
Hmm.
to them saying, well, we don't even have to acknowledge it as bad. Anyway, let's get into the show. With us, as always, producer Matt. This is Weekly Skews. Tonight, we discuss the billionaires who have achieved the impossible, making rocket ships seem uncool. Also, the designed impotence of the IRS, the divine ignorance of the January 6 types, and a bunch of other fun stuff too, including a conversation with friend of the show and head to toe legit bluegrass man of the people, Joe Troop. All that and more on tonight's Skews. But first, as always, we begin with the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, Matt Gaetz, for just blindly trusting any old motherfucker wearing American flag clothes. Matt, play the clip, please.
Oh my God, I'm so excited! I'm so excited! I mean, everyone thinks you're crazy. I don't think you're crazy. People think you're a pedophile. I don't think you're a pedophile at all. I don't think he's a pedophile at all. The charges against him are totally false. They're totally false. Oh my God.
All right. Disclaimer, just so everybody knows, if you're not aware, that it was a prank.
Hmm.
Gaetz and Taylor Green were not in on it, but that guy's a comedian. His name's Walter Masterson, and he did that on purpose. And I, for one, tip my silly flag hat to him. I think he executed it perfectly. But yes, very funny.
Yeah.
Also hard to tell, right? It's hard to tell at first glance.
That is a supporter of Matt Gaetz would be dumb enough to do that. Is there?
Right.
That's the trick. There is like, how the fuck do you tell these people are kidding? But like, that was in Santa Monica. If you're wondering why a Florida congressman and a Georgia congresswoman are in Santa Monica, they were out here for a free Britney rally. They're trying to glom onto that to get some free publicity. And there are like 20 Gaetz supporters there, along with a couple hundred Free Britney supporters. And he got drowned out there. People were chanting pedo, pedophile, pedophile. So just all around good trip for that dude. He's killing it.
Yeah, they also got, that happened out here in me and Mark's stomping grounds, the Los Angeles area. And they got canceled from like 3 different venues before that ultimately happened. They kept moving the event and getting disinvited before they finally got set up. And they got
canceled.
Yeah, they did. Right? I know. As soon as I said it literally did get canceled at these other venues. But as soon as I said that, in my head, I was like, oh, God damn it. I just said they got canceled. That's literally what happened, but it's just such a charged word now.
I mean, can you look? I personally, the whole Britney Spears thing's a fiasco, and obviously they should let her. If my broke ass gets to blow my money, her rich ass should be able to blow as much money as she wants to blow. Right? It's not like it's truly unjust and stupid. I don't know what Matt Gaetz has to do with it, but how tone deaf do you have to be to attach as a guy who's accused of sex trafficking underage girls,
right?
To attach yourself to a woman who became pretty famous for being hot when she was 16. And her music's popular with 16, 17-year-old girls. Now,
and is also being like effectively held captive, financially and legally and whatnot. Yeah. Right. Like you said, I don't know what he has to do with it. It goes beyond just like, oh, he's just trying to attach himself to this for clout or whatever the hell. It's also, like you said, exceedingly tone deaf because of all the things surrounding Matt Gaetz and, the shit he apparently gets up to. But
it's not like he's trying to introduce a bill to ban conservatorships or to limit them or whatever, which is like extremely short-sighted on his part. Because I feel like his future career plan, if he gets out of prison, is going to be trying to glom onto some wealthy widow and try to put her in a conservatorship. So here we go.
Yeah. All right. Our first honorable mention for Daily Dumbass tonight. Anybody who thought Tom Brady would move to the state of Florida and not start talking shit. That ain't how it works, everybody. If you're not a football fan, Brady's been roasting everybody lately, everybody from Aaron Rodgers to unnamed quarterbacks, and the list goes on, and he kept it up during the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers' visit to Joe Biden's White House. Matt, play the clip, please.
On a roll. Not a lot of people, think that we could have won. And in fact, I think about 40% of the people still don't think we won.
I understand that.
You understand that, Mr. President?
I understand that.
Yeah. And personally, it's nice for me to be back here. We had a game in Chicago where I forgot what down it was. I lost track of 1 down in 21 years of playing. And they started calling me Sleepy Tom.
All right. So for people that, don't know much about Tom Brady somehow, if you're just not a football person, the reason this is noteworthy at all is because Tom Brady, Mark, he's supposed to be Trump's buddy. They're friends. You get into it.
Yeah, he would play a lot of Trump celebrity golf tournaments, and someone gave him a MAGA hat and he had his locker a couple years ago during an interview. Caused a big shitstorm or whatever. But like to the point, his wife had Gisele Bunchkin, who's not only makes all the money in that family, which is amazing. She has like 10 times as much money as Tom Brady, but also is the smart one and is politically active. And she put out a statement being like, hey, my husband doesn't think about politics. He's just a regular dumbass. Don't take anything he says seriously. But the reaction from the conservative online sphere was hilarious. Breitbart headline is 5 times Tom Brady called Trump a friend before stabbing him and his supporters in the back. The most deranged take of this conservative blogger was like, tweeted this: whatever you think of Trump, watching Tom Brady stab him in the back is disgusting. The mark of a true tragic hero is even his friends betray him. The man has sacrificed more for this country than Tom Brady or Joe Biden, for that matter, ever will. Trump's a Christ figure to these people. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, man. At 2 Brady. It's just, cannot believe it. All right. Next honorable mention, the Texas Democrats for not figuring out they could prevent a quorum by getting COVID, at least sooner than they did. Yeah, it seems like
Yeah.
I got
So
I
they're
don't
all-
know. I don't know the Miller D's, man. Maybe on their bus they had they had a situation there, a super spreader or something, because the sixth member of the Texas Democratic delegation has tested positive for COVID. So that's no fun.
Yeah, I mean, one way to get the special session of the legislature shut down is to give everyone COVID. That'll do it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, how James Harden kept going to the club and trying to catch COVID on purpose to get traded out of Houston.
Yeah.
This is sort of like a very similar sort of strategy, and I did it. I'm into it. Of course, they're getting roasted by right wing media too for like all these hypocrites didn't wear masks on their plane. They just drank no light. Now they all got COVID, but they're all vaccinated too. They did stupidly expose. They exposed the people at the White House, and a couple of people at the White House have come down with it now too. I don't know if that's related to them or whether that's a coincidence, but they met with Kamala, maskless in the White House. So.
All right. Well, our next honorable mention for Daily Dumbass: showerheads for getting wrecked by the Trump administration. That's right. Matt, play the clip if you have it here.
President Trump's greatest victories, of course, was lifting restrictions on showerhead flow on our bathroom time, and it got better because of it.
All right.
Biggest victories. His biggest victory, Trey.
Is that
was getting rid of.
Is that sincere? Like that dude literally laughed while saying it, didn't he? Like,
oh, you remember the press conferences where Trump would rail about low flow toilets and stuff? Like
yeah, right. But I'm saying, like, as far as Fox News and that anchor and delivering it or whatever, yeah, I don't know. You don't like he looked like he was laughing when he got into it.
No, I don't think it's that guy does love Trump. I don't know if he thinks it's one of his. I actually think it's one of his biggest victories. But the fact they're still talking about it 4 years later. But like Trump would be like, a lot of people have trouble flushing just one go. Not me. Like it's like other people have big honking turds. Not me. My turds are pristine and appropriately sized. It would never clog up a toilet with low flow. But it's just the dude. I honestly miss him sometimes. Get him back in there to talk about make him secretary of toilets. Do a press conference once a day.
Yeah, dude, him as secretary of toilets or whatever, I could definitely go for that. I mean, yeah, when he doesn't have his, all the power in the world, it's definitely he's certainly easy to laugh at. But yeah, all right, Mark, listen, I definitely want to talk about the space farce and the IRS and whatnot. So I'm thinking that we get into Captain Maroney. What do you think about that?
Yeah, let's do that. So we just decided to make a January 6th Dumbass of the Week segment because we have one every week.
It never ends. Never ends with these people.
Yeah, so we found a good one this week. This guy from Arizona, who I guess is Mormon from the way he was throwing up mythology, but he came to the Capitol dressed as a Roman centurion, carrying a flag with a Mormon Bible verse on it, and telling everyone he was Captain Maroney. He was a hero from the Book of Mormon. And he had a homemade wooden sword that he managed to get into the Capitol. He was making videos for his mom. He unlocked his phone for the FBI. He absolutely did cooperate. All the videos he had on his phone were to his mom, and he was bragging about what good exercise it was walking up the stairs. And there was a USA chant, which he thought was hilarious. He was just chanting Taco Bell, taco, no reason, just really hit himself. And I just really want you to see this guy's picture before going any further. Throw the black and white one up there.
Yes,
Matt,
a Roman centurion. This guy, look at.
I love this guy, man.
Some internet sleuths have found out that appears to be a widely available plus-sized Roman soldier costume from Amazon. It seems like, which I mean, it's not like I thought he had made his own Roman centurion cosplay, but he later lamented to his mom that he really fucked up by not getting the hat, the like feather hat, whatever those are called.
He had the helmet of that picture. I guess that was the night before he left it for the day of the rally.
Oh, okay, so he remembered it the next day.
So the cops are shooting rubber bullets at them. So in one of the videos, he says, "Mom, I should have brought that Centurion helmet after all. All right, gotta go, Mom. Yo." The affidavit.
Isn't this another example of like he had told his official stance when he got caught and arrested and whatever was, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, officer. Yeah. I didn't know I couldn't do that. That classic Chappelle. But I didn't know that any of this was going to be all, insurrection-y or whatever. I never would have done it. But then there's all these videos that he made for his mom, which is what makes it doubly hilarious, where he's like telling his mom, "It's great. We're all taking over. Hey, Mom, they're shooting at us, but we're soldiering on." And like, it just.
He definitely a lot of their stories go like this. Like, I thought it was okay for me to be in there. But when I saw people smashing stuff up, I was like, oh man, we're getting in trouble, so I should leave. And then they left. That's what they all say. Is like, but
Right. And then a lot of them have videos on their phone where they're like, I know it's not okay for us to be in here, but we're smashing shit up and it's fucking great.
Yeah.
It's me, Captain Maroney, inside the Capitol, smashing shit up when I know I shouldn't be. And they post that to their Facebook page or whatever.
yeah. Leave your phone at home when you're doing crimes, guys. It's pretty much like, I can't emphasize that enough. Well, I think it's the last. We'll be talking about. Well, we're going to skip over the other crime stuff for today, but like just don't, guys. We need to do. America needs to add an OPSEC class to like high school. If we're going to be getting all these kind of shenanigans, we gotta like people.
This guy also is from Arizona, and he is the second Arizonan to be caught storming the Capitol in costume specifically. The other one being the QAnon shaman. So both the shaman and the Roman centurion guy, the great state of Arizona, representing.
Arizona has low key become a crazy state. I don't know if
absolutely, dude. It's the sun, right? The sun has to be a huge part of it. I feel like, because Arizona's creeping up on Florida, in my opinion, and it's like you just can't handle that. You can't get baked for that long by the sun, I think, without getting a little wild and crazy, apparently.
Yeah. It's like somebody putting peyote in the water. Some shit. I don't know.
All right. So our first big story tonight, actually, let's put it this way. We've done our daily dumbass and our honorable mentions, but the biggest dumbass of all today is all of us. Apparently, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you surely know that Jeff Bezos finally had his date with the stars on Blue Horizon, came back and had this to say afterwards, very graciously. He had this to say. Matt, play the clip, please.
Then I want to thank every Amazon employee and every Amazon customer, because you guys paid for all this. So seriously, for every Amazon customer out there and every Amazon employee, thank you from the bottom of my heart very much.
You're welcome, Jeff. You're welcome.
I know, dude. This honestly really bothered me. I don't know if it bothered me enough to stop buying shit from Amazon, because I'm a fucking suburban white guy. My wife has fucking Amazon boxes showing up every goddamn day. You know what I mean? But also him thanking the employees if anybody knows anything about the long running, war Amazon employees are fighting for just basic decency. Being treated remotely decent as employees. So it's just like, it's pretty audacious thing for him to do, which I know it's weird, Jeff Bezos being audacious, but yeah, I found it upsetting.
Yeah. I mean, odds are he only went to space because he heard Martians were trying to unionize. But like, he didn't even these guys were such a bootlicking. We're gonna get more to this in a little bit, but there was such a bunch of bootlickers. In fact, everyone in the room laughed at that instead of fucking guy with a pitchfork was insane to me. And he didn't even really go to space. He went to like, I guess where the atmosphere starts phasing out. I forget what the line's called. It's like 100 kilometers up, and he went just past that, right? For like, so for comparison's sake, a commercial airliner flies like 3.5 kilometers or whatever. So it's pretty far up. Billionaire went about 100 kilometers up. 64 years ago, the Soviet Union launched a dog to 212 kilometers who managed to orbit the Earth 4 times. So the billionaire did something objectively about 30% as cool as a broke-ass communist dog in the 1950s. So the dog did die. He choked to death.
Broke-ass communist dog. Was it
Laika?
Laika, Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
a hero.
Soviets did kill that dog by accident, so it doesn't hit for me. But so Bezos spent like 10 minutes up there, didn't do an orbit or anything. He just like barely got up high enough to float around for like a second or two, and then came back down. And they treated him like a world conquering hero. The motherfucker wore cowboy boots and a cowboy hat in that thing, and they these they're wearing spacesuits, but they're costumes because they didn't need spacesuits. Right. They could have worn business casual wear and been the exact same goddamn thing. The whole thing is just a ridiculous like joke.
Well, and like you said, people treating him like a world conquering hero. There was some real hot takes in the wake of this, including Matt. If you have that next video there, if you could play it.
People will criticize what I'm about to say. The young man sitting there, excited as he was, that's one less black kid on a corner somewhere getting ready to use a weapon.
Holy shit. Holy shit. There's amount of stuff baked into that. Thank you, Jeff Bezos, civil rights icon, savior of the black community. God damn it. Especially because, like, remember, like, we went over, Bezos not only pays $0 in taxes, but he gives a child tax credit, right? So, like, he's been able to do this because we're subsidizing him. We're covering his share of the tax bill, right? We're covering his share of the tax load. Besides that, like, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos have this dumb rivalry, which is one of the reasons, like Bezos wanted to do this. Branson beat him to space, but at least he beat Musk. Although, like, the thing is, SpaceX does. I'm not a fan of Musk by any means. We talked about before, but like, space actually does go to space, and it's not great. They have like thousands of satellites living in the night sky. They're like blocking out like people from the telescopes being able to look at the moon and shit. But like, at least he does go to space. Blue Origin doesn't do shit. It's nothing. It's just a purely masturbatory. I mean, everyone talking about how it looked like a dick. It does look like a dick and balls. It's ridiculous. But like, the fact that we all pay for this, they don't pay for this indirectly by covering his taxes and by giving him tax refunds. But his lobbyist tried to got a contract he was jealous of. The Senate tried to pass a bailout bill just to give him $10 billion as a tip, to be nice, because Musk got $10 billion. So his own space program cost 5.5. So this would have more than doubled what he's invested in his own goddamn space program. Now, the Senate, I mean, the House thankfully killed it after the Senate put it in. But Jesus Christ, like, these guys are so shameless, man. I just don't understand it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to call myself a space nerd because I'm very space dumb. I can't accurately talk about any of it, but I'm just a big proponent of a higher budget for NASA and spending more on that. Like, I think that getting away from spacefaring was a mistake, generally speaking. Like, it's always annoyed me when conservatives would talk when NASA asked for a budget increase because they want to go to Mars, and then conservatives are like, yeah, they want to spend X billion dollars to go to Mars when fucking we got problems here or whatever. Has always annoyed me for multiple reasons, and yet I'm annoyed by billionaires going to Mars instead of paying their fucking taxes, but there's obviously a massive fundamental difference between the government doing it and fucking billionaires who are on corporate welfare doing it. So it isn't the same thing. So, like, I just want everybody to know I'm all for advances in space travel and spacefaring as the human race or whatnot. But, like,
the gains are socialized.
Right.
When they're paid for by tax dollars, the gains are socialized. Like we have the internet.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so we have when you turn on your phones to see where your Uber is, that's a government satellite.
That's why it's different. Like, society saw the benefit and would continue to see the benefit of the space race or a new space race if it's the government, if it's NASA we're talking about. But all the advances that these motherfuckers make, they're not going to like share it. They're not going to share any of them. Like, generally speaking, other than the other rich assholes who are competing directly against them, and it's all going to be proprietary and patented and whatnot. Like, it's not the same thing, and it's also just upsetting given the general state of things with income inequality and whatnot.
I saw conservatives be like, socialism didn't send Jeff Bezos to space. Capitalism sent him to space. It's like, motherfucker, the government went to the moon 70 years ago. This guy, he barely went as high as that Felix Baumgartner guy who jumped out of the balloon. Remember the guy who took the balloon to space?
Yeah, the Red Bull guy, yeah.
He did that with a Red Bull budget. That was way cooler.
Yeah.
This is just, it's such a jerk off. And just to get to this real quick, because I talk about actual government stuff. One of the reasons rich people are able to go to pay with no taxes is because as much as people argue about how defund the police is a bad slogan, a bad strategy, for years the government has defunded the rich guy police. We're talking about the IRS, right? And so one of the things Biden proposed for the infrastructure bill was to increase IRS funding, because the estimates are for like you increase their funding $20 billion. They could bring you back $400 billion. It's gone missing because people aren't paying their taxes, right? So keep that in mind and watch this clip from the Sunday shows about this bill falling apart, right?
Talk about some of the sticking points that I know that you're working through. One of the proposals is to improve IRS enforcement of existing laws, which is estimated to increase revenue by up to $100 billion without raising taxes. A number of your Republican colleagues, though, they are coming out against this approach. Senator Ted Cruz called it a foolish and dangerous idea. So is IRS enforcement still part of your proposal or not?
Well, one reason it's not part of the proposal is that we did have pushback. Another reason is that we found out that the Democrats were going to put a proposal into the reconciliation package, which was not just similar to the one we had, but with a lot more IRS enforcement. So that created.
Yeah. So these lying sexist shit they're doing the typical Republican dance they do in the Senate, where they pretend to be negotiating and then they pull out at the last minute, right? So there's two bills being negotiated. The clusterfuck here, the mistake they make, is that the reconciliation bill has to have everything paid for, has to be budget neutral, right? So kicking this out of the bipartisan bill and put it in the reconciliation bill could give Bernie like $400 billion more to work with to add back into infrastructure spending. So this might work against them, but at least they'll be able to say they'll tell their donors they tried, right? But here's the fucked up thing: like this is like forget raising taxes on rich people. Just enforcing existing laws is like ridiculously possible. Like literally no one thinks that people should be able to break the law and not pay taxes when average working class people cannot. Like you and I can't do this, right? We can't navigate the tax code to like save hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in taxes, or like whatever like Trump's CFO Alan Weiselberg was doing. Like this shit's insane. Everyone knows it's unfair. It's a layup. It's a fucking political layup for everybody in politics. And I hope they take it because it's very frustrating.
Yeah, for sure. But it's one of those that we've talked so much on the show about the apparent layups that the Democratic Party just either bricks or typically refuses to take. They go Ben Simmons and they pass the ball off instead of taking the wide open dunk so many times. Things that just seem like obvious layups, like fucking weed, for example, or things like this, and they just don't do it, But with this, I could see how they are also in the pocket of these rich motherfuckers at the end of the day. And so that's why they just won't do it, which is very disheartening. But yeah.
That's part of it. But yeah, they think about pair that up with this issue at the same time. All right. So Intuit and these TurboTax and all these like the big companies that get paid to file taxes, they lobby to keep taxes insanely complicated. And in functional countries, mostly what happens, the government sends you a bill for what you owe, and you send what you owe. You don't have to do your own taxes, right? So, but they want to charge to get people to file them. So as a compromise, the government for years, they provided a free e-file option for people who just want to do simple, straightforward tax shit. TurboTax is pulling out of that. They're just going to stop providing the free tax filing. So while rich people's taxes are getting cheaper, you're going to definitely have to pay to do yours going forward. And that seems like a pretty easy layup for a campaign commercial to me. But I'm no big city political expert.
No, yeah, I'm with you. We'll see what they actually do. All right, let's get to our guest tonight. He is a multi-instrumentalist, singer, and songwriter, hailing originally from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. He is the founder of Grammy-nominated string band Che Appalache. His music is deeply embedded with and inspired by his activism after spending the last year learning direct action from stalwart progressive organizers. This radical folk singer is now channeling that energy into his first proper solo album, Borrowed Time, which will be released next month. Joe Troop, everybody. Hey, Joe. Good to see you again.
Nice to be back on the show, Trey and Mark.
Hey, Joe.
Good to see you.
So, for a long time, like, the roots of, folk singers, it's very working man oriented, right? Like Woody Guthrie, coal miners, that type of thing. And not that country and folk are the same thing, but I feel like to a lot of Americans generally now, it's a different kind of perception they have when they think of like working class music, basically. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's not the best one. It's like Nashville country type stuff that people think of, but you're out there on the ground every day, taking roots music back to its roots, right? You're out there keeping it real, trying to keep
in a real
organic.
contemporary way, I suppose, because you can't. I for as much as I'd like to think of myself as a, like a Woody Guthrie of the now. I mean, it's now. It's not the 1940s.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you
Sorry, I was going to say, if you guys are familiar with Woody Guthrie that much, he was a guy saying, this land is your land, this land is my land. He was an avowed socialist, and he had "This machine kills fascists" painted on his guitar. So he was a fucking all-around rocking dude.
Yeah, he was a badass, pretty much.
Yeah.
He rooted for the underdogs, basically. I mean,
right.
he just tried to tell the stories of the people who were getting screwed by the system, and that's what I like to do too. Just poke the bear a little bit in a vernacular that they think is theirs, but it's not. I like the bluegrass and old time and folk music did come out of the working class, and somehow everything got convoluted and screwed up, and now working class equals dumbass or something happened at some point. But that's just not the case. I mean, it could be further from the truth. And so kind of feel like in some way by playing a style of music that is so associated with being a right-wing ignoramus and singing something, very clearly progressive, for lack of a better word, then maybe kind of like refocusing the whole concept of folk music. Not just me. There's a whole lot of people doing this. I'm just part of a movement, I would say, that is using roots music to push the progressive rural envelope.
Yeah, and how is that going? What kind of resistance do you run into out there doing it, given we've got to this place where, like you said, the genre itself is oftentimes associated with right-wing ignoramuses, right? And I've talked to other musicians who, have dealt with the same things. Like, how often is that a problem for you in just doing shows and whatnot? Like, do you have to sort of actively push back against the tide in that way, or is there this sort of avenue for doing it the way that you do it that still exists and that people are automatically receptive to?
Well, of course, there's pushback. People will hear a vernacular that they think is theirs, and their vernacular being right-wing dumbassery.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, protect the Postal Service. And they're like, well, yeah, protect the Postal Service, but fuck Joe Biden. It's like, incongruencies. And so you're like, well, the vernacular I like, and then boom, heads explode. So the pushback is like, I don't like this, but I just wish you'd shut up and play music, but don't sing the words. God, it's like that kind of thing. So it's kind of funny from my perspective. Sometimes they get violent. That's never fun. But I have yet to get my ass beat. This is not an invitation to beat my ass. I will fight back, and I do bite. So,
yeah, I've talked to other like country and Americana artists before. Well, I mean, I'll just say like Hayes Carl, right? I would call him country, but Americana, whatever, guy from Texas who just did that type of thing for a long time and had that fan base and did shows. And then he had a song where he basically said the equivalent of he took an anti-Nazi stance in it, and then was surprised to find that was somehow controversial amongst people. Apparently, he was like, I thought I was walking out on a pretty sturdy limb with that. I didn't think that would be a problem, but for some people it was,
Well, what we're dealing with is basically the death growl of Dixie. And with the new emerging zeitgeist in the United States, the once propagated white myth of we are this, and Davy Crockett and macaroni and cheese and whatever, it's like not holding up. So the only thing they can do when backed into a corner is go or whatever. And so it's I don't know. We're just watching a bear being poked, and it isn't even a smart bear. It's kind of like, barely got its wits about kind of bear. And that's because no one created a new, and I hate to use the word create a new narrative because it sounds like that the kind of like woke speech that they would automatically reject and hate, understandably too. What I'm saying is, in the vernacular of the white proletariat in Appalachia, why not start propagating a new creation myth and story, which would be inclusive and recognize genocide and recognize white supremacy and slavery and everything that actually happened, because there is truth in the world. And that is the hardest thing for these assholes to accept. But at the same time, demonizing them, which is what's happening in media in general, is not proving to be effective. So why not just start not demonizing the opposition and go in there and say, look, Ricky, we're fighting for the same things, man.
Right.
You don't see the system screwing you. The structures of inequity are not on your. They do not favor your existence, my man. So buck up, expand your mind. You can, and maybe Ricky will say, "Well, damn, yeah, okay, fine." Yeah,
the thing you said at the end there, like, to me, that seems like what should be the like primary messaging, such that there is one, is, we are all on the same team against the same opponent, which is, the fucking rich assholes who fuck everybody over. The system that screws everybody over. And I feel like that used to be an accepted thing with a lot of these folk musicians and with the people like Johnny Paycheck and whatnot, and like coal miners and whatnot. And it wasn't just white people, and there was a kind of understanding of like working people being united against the powers that be. Right?
Division-based politics. They have found wedge issues. This goes back to like Lee Atwater, may he burn in hell, and taking these wedge issues, and they are the same wedge issues they've been since before I was born, or when I was coming into the world in the early 80s. It's abortion. It's always the same shit. It's hate the homosexuals, abortion, whatever. It's and that has served to divide and conquer. And these few elites are laughing all the way to the bank. I think that if a real left emerges, and I'm not talking about a San Francisco left, though they're played an important part in a lot of things. I'm talking about a rural left. If it can emerge and had a media market that maybe wasn't based in New York or California, we could fashion some sort of new nationwide narrative. But the problem is the media is also controlled by the coastal elites. So now I sound like a right winger, don't I? This is the subtlety we're dealing with.
Yeah. There's a lot of truth. Like it's not just, being on the West Coast, like the amount of like East Coast bias, like it's Northeastern definitely, but it's like a rainstorm in Washington, D.C. will get tons of media coverage, and the whole state of Oregon's burning down right now. It's changing the weather patterns. That's how hot it is in Oregon. And no one seems to care very much. It's like, it's wild how things get filtered in international conversation, and what makes it up to the high profile cable shows that are just people yelling at each other about performative bullshit.
Performance, baby. It's all hype. Entertainment industries, music industry, news media. It's all hype driven. Hype. And it's very, very not pragmatic. Yeah. So.
I wanted to ask you, so last year you started this project called Pick a Progress. I'm gathering because it was an election year. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I'm here I'm in Key Center, Washington, at producer Matt's house. Matt is a longtime co-conspirator of mine, and he when COVID hit and the music industry died, Matt was like, "Well, you ain't got a job. Why don't you write a song for the Postal Service?" So I did, and it went banjo viral. I literally got asked to play it 3 or 4 times. And including in front of Louis DeJoy's house. There was a petition, 450,000 people signed it. Banjo, in some small way, helped bail out the Postal Service, which was Matt's brainchild. So Matt's kind of a genius here. And then he said, well, that worked, didn't it? Why don't you keep doing that? And so then he somehow came up with this concept of picking for progress, and I inadvertently became the Anthony Bourdain of social justice music, illuminating progressive voices from across the state of North Carolina, picking music and interviewing in this kind of like episodic series we did for 15 weeks prior to the elections. I was working with Roderico Yol Diaz, who is a Guatemalan film director, Cachiquel, indigenous dude, lives in North Carolina, and Emily Ryan, the executive director of Witness for Peace Southeast. So 2 stalwart activists and people in the know. And I got to be kind of like, the host and the musician, and it was really fun. And we did this, and I got to meet all these real organizers and activists, and it was just very informative. And that kind of like helped me produce all of this music. When the elections happened and everything kind of died down, I was like, well, I got this collection of songs. I might as well put them into a new record, which Matt is probably bringing up onto the screen. And that's what I've been doing. I got this record, about to go back on tour. I mean, hell, it looks like the pandemic is doing okay. That Delta variant is pretty bad. If the Delta variant is bad, I wonder what the Spirit Airlines variant is going to be, because that shit is going to get hairy pretty quick. But if God willing, I'll be out on the road in September touring that album around. So I kind of eschewed the conversation from Picking to Progress into selling my CD. But you know how it is.
No,
it is, baby.
That's a good segue, because one of the reasons you're on today as opposed to any other week is you had a video drop from this series called Gems on VHS.
Right.
And
yeah.
do you want to set up? I think we have a clip. Do you want to set it up?
Sure. Yeah. Today, my single "Hermano Migrante" dropped, which is that means brother migrant, and it is a song I tailor made for migrants. It's a message that really resonates with them. Thankfully, I have been able to play it for a lot of migrants. And prior to being here, I was in a migrant shelter in Nogales, Sonora, Mexico. And anyway, if anyone knows how to save the world, it's the people that have experienced firsthand the structures of inequity. And no one understands the structures of inequity better than migrants. So you might think they're at the bottom of the totem pole. They know more about it than anyone else does. So this is my song to them. And it's in Spanish, but there is one little line in English to kind of sum up the whole situation they're dealing with.
Right on.
Por nacer en otro lado, dicen no eres de aquí. Mientras sin tus esfuerzos ni podrían vivir. Gritan calla migrante, esperanza no hay. Do you work without paper? Keep us fed and go die.
Damn.
That's awesome, man. For those who, we didn't set up this part, but you lived in Argentina for a long time, right? It's one of the reasons you're so fluent in Spanish and why you're so enthusiastic about Latin culture. Is that correct?
Yeah. So as a 19-year-old, I found a foreign exchange program in Spain. I ran away because I had my gay parade and I was like, screw North Carolina, I'm getting the hell out of here. They don't treat me very good. And then I met a bunch of Argentinians there. So years later, I moved to Argentina and the shoe fit. I stayed for a decade, and but more recently, well, since the this year actually, I've been back and forth to Mexico, and that's kind of my new project. I'm kind of fascinated by the borderlands. So yeah, I've had a lot of 12 years of experience with the Spanish language. That's after learning it my whole childhood. It was my favorite subject in school. So in North Carolina, believe it or not. And anyway, so yeah, that's how I got interested in all these ideas, all these concepts of migration and whatnot.
So much smarter than me. I chose Latin as my subject in high school. My dad tried to talk me out of it, and he was right, but his reasons were so I could talk to girls.
Wow. Yeah, that was
yeah, well, I've tried and failed to learn Spanish like 8 times over the course of my life. Not because I'm not into it. It's just like I just
yeah. You gotta want to memorize. I mean, it's
gotta stick to it.
Yeah, it ain't. speaking redneck's pretty hard, man.
Yeah, well,
But,
born into that, you know.
That's Spanish and French and all them romance languages. They're romantic. It's why they call them romance languages, because somebody told me that one time. So
That's right.
I learned me a romance language because I like romance. I'm like, Ricky, don't mean they don't. Whatever, buddy.
Yeah, a true romantic, Ricky. All right, Joe, let everybody know, how they can follow and support you, the album, how to find that, all that good stuff, please.
Well, I guess unfortunately, the best way to follow me is now Instagram, because Facebook sucks ass. But I guess people are watching it on Facebook. Sorry, Facebook. Not sorry, but not sorry, as the Gen Zers say. But Instagram at joe.troop.music. Had to think about it there. And then I'm on Twitter, Joe Troop, and I'm on whatever other things. But you can go to my website, joetroop.com, joetroop.com. And if anyone wants to support me, just buy my CD off my website, and then once I sell 3,000 of them and meet my recoupment clause with the record label, I can start making some money off of them. So
there you go.
But anyway, that's a good record label. I have to say, Free Dirt is a good record label. That's a very just recoupment clause, because they pour money into me like a leaky faucet. But anyway, so yeah.
Hell yeah. So yeah, that's the best way to go about it. Go to joetroop.com and check it all out there and get the album Borrowed Time. Joe, it's always good to see you. We'll have you back on
Trey
for
and
too
Mark,
long.
such a pleasure.
Thanks,
Love
buddy.
Right on, buddy. All right.
Yeah.
Joe Troop, everybody. Okay. Yeah. Always impressed by somebody who fucking keeps it real,
Yeah.
Actually walks the walk, man. He is a walking son of a bitch, Joe Troop is. All right, Matt, you can start throwing up some questions and comments there for us.
Well, since we're talking about Bezos, just something I forgot to mention earlier. This is just a funny little anecdote. So when Bezos was like 8, 9 years old, he was one of the subjects of a book about child prodigies. And the chapter on him, the guy wrote that he basically was too socially socially awkward and quote has no leadership skills, end quote. And do you want to know the one book it's kind of hard to find on Amazon?
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Trish Pulley from YouTube says, this is a quote from Joe's song we played the clip from earlier, says, "Work without papers, keep us fed, and go die." Trish says, "Damn, based on that alone, I will purchase the album. Thanks for the intro." I agree completely. Joe set it up saying there's one line in English, kind of sort of sums up the song in general. I don't speak Spanish. That was incredibly impactful, the way he did that. So yeah, hats off to him.
Yeah.
If
Joe mentioned Lee Atwater, if you guys aren't familiar with who he is, he's a guy that is the architect of Reagan's campaign in 1980, and he gave this famous. You can just Google Lee Atwater 1981 interview, and you'll find out where he lays out how the Southern strategy works and how you can do racism through dog whistles, and it's pretty.
Right. Yeah. I know the interview you're talking and the clips you're talking about. I didn't put those together. Yeah, that shit's wild, dude.
He says the N-word a bunch in it. So
yes, it just totally just lays it out completely baldly. The way they operate. Yeah, that shit's pretty wild. Y'all should look that up. Betty Veronica says Bezos looks like Lex Luthor on the Super Friends villains, the Legion of Doom, especially that capsule. He definitely has a Lex Luthor thing going on. I don't give him too much credit though, But yeah, and also like that, his rocket in particular, they're all phallic. Rockets are just inherently phallic, but his had a real dick-looking thing going on, So yeah. And again, the boots and the hat and all that, it's just all a bit much, guys.
Do you know his 10 billion humans thing or whatever?
Bezos, no.
Just to give you an example of how dumb and out of touch these guys are. So his big futurist, I'm thinking about the future of humanity type thing. He always talks about in an interview, I think it's 10 billion, 100 billion humans or whatever, a trillion humans, whatever it is. His idea is if you get X number of geniuses like Einstein and Beethoven with the current population, if you grow the population, you'll get that many more Einsteins and Beethovens.
Sure.
But how many kids are talented enough to be Beethoven but don't have the money for a goddamn violin?
Never have a chance. Yeah, exactly. Dude, there's been so many. There's a couple examples where people are aware of that, where they've somehow found mathematical prodigies who grew up in poverty in India or something, and it never mattered, but we know about them now. I'm too ignorant to give specifics on it, but I know, dude, you don't have to have it proven. You know that it's true. There's no telling how many fucking Einsteins and Mozarts and whatnot have been born into abject poverty, lived and died in the exact same, and no one ever knew their genius, because of just the fucking way the world works.
Because we live in a society of manufactured scarcity and artificial competition, like it's just so cutthroat and dog eat dog. Like you can't even talk about it in terms of what we're losing, but like how much talent we're just wasting. Because if you're like, we should give all kids music lessons and free SATs to see who has the best opportunity, like you'd be like, well, that kid's gonna take a slot from my kid, as opposed to being like, how much better would the world be with so much better music and stuff? But there was a school where none of the kids could afford the SATs. So somebody's like, I'll just pay for them all to take the SATs. All of them got high scores, and they all got to go to college. There's a whole group of kids who weren't going to be able to go to college because they couldn't afford the SAT. It's just like you could save to the extent there are any good billionaires. Like the one practical solution, Bill Gates' enthusiasm for malaria nets is really cool because it's a really low cost way in trying to figure out better water filtration for underdeveloped countries. It's like that's an easy way to save a lot of lives is cheap stuff like water filters and malaria nets. That's going to save hundreds of thousands of lives. And here you got a guy talking about we got to build a moon colony so we can get to 5 Beethovens. Like, fuck off, man. Jesus Christ.
Will Tyson on Facebook says rockets don't have to be phallic. That's a choice. I'm just going to have to trust you on that, Will. I'm rocket dumb. In my head, I think of a rocket. I think of a vaguely dick-shaped thing. But I do believe you. I believe that. But I don't know. You know that we talked about this on the Well Read podcast forever ago, and so I don't remember the specifics of it now. But like early on in the existence of billionaires, and maybe they weren't even billionaires at the time, but like the ultra wealthy, it was kind of almost taken for granted that they had to do shit to sort of give back in a way. Like it was almost like, I don't know if it was like a shame thing or what, but like for a while there,
noblesse oblige.
Yeah. They just it was sort of taken for granted that you had to give back if you were in that type of scenario. And now it's the exact opposite. It's like if they do it, they're lauded as being heroic or whatever because so many of them just say fuck it and don't and take every opportunity they can to keep as much for themselves as possible. And it's just a real bummer because I feel like it didn't necessarily have to be that way or wasn't automatically that way, to begin with. And we just got to that point because of, in part, the mentality you were talking about earlier, where everybody makes it about themselves in their head. Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, if I get to that point, that's what I'm doing. I'm fucking keeping it all. They deserve to keep it all,
Yeah. I want to be like Jeff. You don't have to build a moon colony for a Martian colonies to get to a trillion humans or whatever to find 5 Beethovens. You might have to find them just by funding school lunch programs. Do you know what I'm saying? It's
yeah, right.
Yeah,
absolutely. Ah, man, that's fucked up. Oh, Roger Strange says Bezos went to space by selling crap that catches people and homes on fire. What's he talking about specifically, Mark?
I don't know. I remember Musk sold those flamethrowers from the Boring Company, and Tesla's catch on fire all the time. Maybe it makes some billionaires, or I don't know. Maybe it's somebody I don't know about Jeff. Yeah, I mean,
anyway, they want to catch us all on fire.
He burned like 300 tons of carbon, shoot himself into space, and got back and talk about how we need to save Earth. It's like,
right. Yeah, crazy. I know. Like being up there looking at the Earth and how fragile it is reminds you of how important it is. And like you said, the carbon output of the fucking vanity project masturbatory vanity project that he just went on that inspired him to say that I'm sure he'll have no follow through on whatsoever. Yeah. Again, the audacity, man.
He was saying we could save the environment here on Earth by putting all our industry in space and on the moon. So you're gonna put a power plant on the moon and then we're on a giant extension cord back to Earth. Fucking idiot.
Yeah, man. See, I would I don't know. Like I said, I think about in my opinion, you look at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, and the Wright brothers to the moon landing in that amount of time, we should be on the moon and Mars already, but it should have happened the right way. And it's disappointing that we're not, but I don't want it to be like this. It's like that, switch from the Matrix. Not like this. Not like this. This ain't what I want. But as a species, you know, we should be doing all that shit already, and we should be reaching towards space-based fucking industry and stuff like that, but not from these, not like this, not this way.
Is anyone defending? If you look at the tenor of all the news coverage today, was very lauding and celebratory. Like,
yeah,
like
I agree. I've seen a lot of people. As a matter of fact, senior Georgia correspondent Corey Forrester was telling me that, you know, he's a hardcore commie. He posted a video shitting on liberal fans. All you hear today, you guys know that. And he got some pushback from our fans on it, apparently. People being like, listen, at the end of the day, it's an advancement. It's a scientific and technological advancement, and we should be happy about that type of thing. I think a lot of people feel that way.
To the extent they advanced technology, they built reusable rockets. Okay, but like, so we already had a space shuttle. That was
it's like we were saying earlier. That argument doesn't hold water the same way it does when you're talking about NASA or, you know, the government or socialist efforts that lead towards the same goals, because the information sharing and intellectual property and all that stuff, it just works completely differently.
Yeah, so it's all Jeff.
The same thing.
We fund it and Jeff gets to keep it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's why it ain't the same thing, and that's why it's fucked up. Randall Tuff says, let's celebrate what we did in the 60s. Hello. Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. That's what I'm saying. I think that's so rad that happened. Like the technology available at that time to have gone to the moon with that, what we had available then. Imagine the shit we could do now and should be doing. But again, not for motherfuckers like Richard Branson, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos.
They literally the ships that went to the moon were built out of duct tape and aluminum foil and shit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And we got there.
The computers they had are like, there are calculators today that are more powerful than those. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, they don't everybody sees Apollo 13 knows that Kevin Bacon character gets real sick or whatever. They don't go into detail why he got sick, but in real life, the guy got sick because his urine filtration system messed up. So he was just like, he just got sick off his own piss. But that's the level of bad technology they were dealing with. The guy just had to deal with his own piss in his bloodstream for a few days while he got back, and they were able to go to the moon and back. And we can't do that right now. It's like we're celebrating a guy going like 3 times as high as a fucking commercial airliner. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
No, dude, no, you're 100% right. It's such a good point. It's like literally just the fact that it's like, oh, it's just one rich guy who made it happen is the only thing that makes it noteworthy. And again, that wouldn't be possible if not for the way he has exploited countless faceless masses of fucking people, and the tax code and all of that shit is the only thing that makes it even possible in the first place. In terms of just purely technological and all that speaking, it's not impressive objectively.
At least he thanked them after taking away their pandemic pay. So there you go.
Yeah. All right. Fucking producer Matt has just reminded me I'm such an idiot. Fucking every single time. Very last thing, remind y'all, I'm going back on tour this very weekend. I will be in Birmingham, Alabama at the Stardome, July 23rd and 24th, but plenty of other dates too. You can go to wellreadcomedy.com and see the dates, get your tickets, and come see us. We're chomping at the bit, ready and raring to go. It's going to be a good time. Thank you for the reminder, Matt, and thank you all for the support. All right. Well, that's it, Mark. All right. We'll be.
Love you. See you. Bye.
Yeah, there you go. Nailed it. All right. We'll be back. We'll be back next Skews Day right here.